Hello everybody, it is me, Rex the dog, and I've got a little bit of time today. I like to post quite regularly on my YouTube channel. I feel it's something that actually helps me out quite a bit, giving me an opportunity to sort of more intentionally and deliberately talk about things that are going on in my head. And I do think it's kind of part of in the same way that like dreams are something of like your brain. I mean, this is what they say, right? To my understanding of dreams kind of being this thing of when you're asleep, it's your brain trying to like make sense and work out the things that have been going on in your day-to-day life, in your conscious and your subconscious and your input and your output and whatever. I do think that give it the time here to kind of just like sit here and stream of consciousness, especially when I'm doing the laundry vlogs or whether I'm like bouncing off people when we're chatting in the live streams, in the live chat and whatever, or responding to your comments on the videos. I do really think that sort of deliberate self-reflection, something that's helping me sort things out in my mind on a deeper level and a more consistent level, or I don't know what I'm trying to say here, but I do think it's really helped me out a lot. Especially because it's so easy to consume all our time with input, whether we're watching videos all the time or we're listening to music all the time, or we don't have those like sort of moments of silence. And it does kind of bring me back to Archimedes, right? And that whole thing of, when he determined that, the story of Archimedes, it was when he determined the principle of displacement. He got in the bath that was overfilled, and then when he was in the bath that was overfilled, his body volume was responsible for an equal volume of water pouring out of the bath, and he was like, oh, eureka, and that was his eureka moment for finding out the volume of irregular shaped objects, right? Because he was tasked with finding the volume of a crown, and he wanted to work out how to do that without actually melting a crown down into uniform bars, which he could calculate the volume of really easily. And that was a eureka moment for him. A eureka, I think it means in ancient Greek something like "I've got it," right? We struggle to kind of have those, or at least, again, I can only speak for myself, these eureka moments, because we're always filling ourselves with with input. We've got music on all the time, or we're consuming something all the time, or we're working on something all the time, and we don't have those. One of the reasons they say he was able to make that conclusion while in the bath was not just the fact that obviously he had the action of the water come out of the bath, but also because his mind was quiet. We say this whole thing about like you have some of your best ideas and your best thoughts and your best conclusions when you're in the shower. Because when you're in the shower, like, you're away from all that stuff. You're less likely to be listening to music. You're not scrolling on your phone unless you're a crazy person who's got one of these phone covers going in the shower. But I think that just this act of speaking out is giving me more time for eureka moments, whether they're big or small. I'm not saying I'm working out principles of physics like Archimedes did, but I'm definitely coming to conclusions about myself, my life, what I'm wanting to do with my time, a lot more deliberately and a lot more rapidly, which is helping me out, especially weeks like this, which haven't exactly been a vibe in a lot of regards, and there's been kind of a lot of external factors and things going on. Now, to kind of like add to that, I've started with this bad boy. This is really pretty. Look at this, man. Look how pretty this is, and it's shiny as well. Look how shiny that is. Like the mermaids and like under the sea stuff. I've got like a merman here. It's really pretty. But anyway, what I've been doing, and I've scheduled this in, because I talk about my calendar quite a lot here. I've scheduled this on my calendar as like a weekly recurring event. I've been journaling once a week. And this one, at the moment, is starting off as just a kind of like self-review and practicalities. I'm not really getting into incredibly in-depth about like my feelings, but I'm kind of getting more in-depth of the systems around my life. So maybe I'm writing in here that I'm not spending enough time exploring my feelings, or maybe I'm writing in here that I'm spending not enough time running, or I'm happy with the food I'm doing. So I'm kind of just doing like a weekly reflection on here about what I've been doing in the past week, and if I was like proud of it. Which, as I've said, recently I'm starting to be proud of myself a lot more, which is something really, really useful, right? So I've been writing in this quite a bit as, once a week as like a reflection like that. And then I'm also like looking back on it and the week before, and I'm underlining things. And it's just like, not running enough, underlined that, or like not enough practice of this thing, underlined that. So I can kind of like look back on it the next week and action those things, or see if they're moving up to be a priority, which I'm not doing, and then add them into the calendar as things which become like non-negotiables, which I really want to do and I really want to focus on because I don't find them as important to me. So this is like working out really well for me. I'm enjoying writing more. I'm enjoying reading more. I've been reading loads of comic books. I've been reading novels as well. And I think this is great. I think that these interesting people who kind of always have stuff to say and opinions and whatever are the people in, not that my goal is to like become interesting, right? But I find that these people are guys and girls who read a lot, who write a lot, because reading, they're getting all this kind of like real deliberate input. And writing's essentially a practice of your thinking and practice of your communication, and you're making these really deliberate intentional outputs and statements and thoughts and whatever. So you're getting this like really, really good deliberate input from the reading, and you're getting this really, really good deliberate output from the writing. So hopefully kind of doing this more will be reflected in some of these videos and these rambles, although still be rambles, or maybe be a little bit more, to really reduce it, be interesting, but to go a bit more substantial on that will just be something that's a bit more like thoughtful, of value, self-reflective, whatever. So I want to expand this more. And as I said, move into those more, as at the moment, this is very much a practical tool. I know I am touching on like emotions and feelings and pride and whatever. I would like to, carve out another space in my week where that writing can be more introspective from like an emotional standpoint, or creative and those sorts of things. So I hopefully that'll kind of be translate as well to some of the stuff that I communicate to you guys, and some of the art we're trying to create with the EP. Well, the EP's written, right? But the next songs that come out from my band, which we're going to be putting out, the first songs over the next couple months, because we're mastering it and all that good jazz at the moment. So I kind of want to talk about that, because this has been like a really useful tool for me, and my life really is essentially built around systems, and this is something that's been working well in my system so far, or a few weeks in. I want to keep doing it. I want to really embed it and then expand it outwards when I'm able to do that, which the time is definitely there, because all those other systems which I've got embedded for like my exercise or my health, or time to engage with art or reading or stream with you guys or whatever the hell, that's like really, they're like non-negotiable, like really just like habits in my life, like brushing your teeth or whatever at this point. So I'm really happy about that. And I do think like tools like this and the stability of the rest of my life has helped me get through, stuff like this week, which has been not ideal, which has been pretty challenging, which has been pretty stressful, and, kind of like other things like that. And finding like comfort in the routine and the kind of like desire to do the routine even when I'm really down is great as well. So I'm not just gonna sort of like lie in my bed and like, no, I want to go do my things, even if I'm not exactly feeling in a particularly great mood. I know that they are sort of like, they're like my dailies in a game. Like they're like my dailies in a game. It's just like, oh, like, get your vegetables, do your thing, go to the gym, blah, blah, blah. And it might seem kind of like cold-hearted or whatever, but I've even added in like things into my like routine and my calendar or whatever, which is just like call your mom, and kind of stuff like that. And I know that like that's kind of coming from a real sort of like systematic and like process engineer sort of place, but the meaning behind it and the outcome of it is genuine and nice, They're just kind of like reminders and prompts, and just like, hey, if you want this kind of life and you want these kind of relationships with other people, you need to like put those things in place. Because maybe that sort of stuff just happens like more naturally for you, but for someone like me, I do really need to like specify that happens if I want to create that sort of life which I want to create for myself. Something that kind of keeps standing back to me as pertaining to like this book and like the weekly reflection, which I'm kind of finding really useful, is thinking about this idea of, okay, if these like last 7 days, or expand that even further because you can have like great variation within your weeks, but I'm kind of looking at like, okay, if these like last 7 days or these last 14 days or whatever, if they were the typical week or fortnight for the rest of my life, would I be content with that? Would I be proud with that? Like would I be cool with like, okay, so like these 7 weeks, these 14 days, 7 days, these 14 days, this week, this 2 weeks, whatever time frame I've picked for myself for this kind of like self-reflection and analysis, would I be content of that style of week being how I live my life for the rest of my life? And that's kind of just like the reflection that I keep going on. It's just like, no, and it's just like trying not to self-criticize. It's like, no, like I want the weeks to be like that but with this tweak, and make the tweak. I want this week to be like that week with this tweak, and just kind of continually improving it until we get to a habit where 80% of my weeks end up like that week, and that sounds like 80%'s an A grade, isn't it? You know what I mean? Like a really good A grade. So if we can get to that sort of, not to like grade my life, right, but you kind of get the analogies I'm trying to go for. If I can kind of get to that sort of position, I think it's gonna be incredibly sick. I think anything more at this point would be kind of forced. I think that is what I wanted to expel and communicate today. I would like to thank you very much for stopping by and giving me your time if you've reached it to the end there. I'm curious about how you guys sort of live your life. I'd like to, as always, give a super shout out to all these people recently who've either donated to the channel, collaborated on the channel, sent me gift art, boosted over on the Discord server. All these lovely people, I'd like to thank you a lot. We've got donations going. In the bottom left corner, you can see the little Switch 2 fund on the go. It's creeping up. It's creeping up. So that's going to be, if we get like a Switch 2 supported by you guys and my little savings, I think that's going to be super, super hype and super, super fun. But again, yes, lots of love. Mwah. To everybody out there. Lots of links and whatever in the description below. Peace out, have a good time, and I'll be back streaming video games and posting videos and laundry vlogs and all that good jazz as usual very, very soon. Lots of love, and bye, bye, bye.